Buddy, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again for Your Honor, Season 1, Episode 10, Part 10. This episode should have been called Fuck You, Audience. Well, okay, let's not rush through things like this episode did. Let's start off with this. Wow. It before the episode even began, I knew there was going to be a problem. And you know why? I'm not kidding you guys. I'm telling the truth here. I had a dream. Well, I guess a bad dream. Last night, whatever, Saturday night. And in the dream, I watched this episode in the dream. And I saw the ending. I remember seeing like either one or two bodies on the floor with blood all over them. And I remember being so upset and angry that I just clicked it off and I was like, this sucked! And I was like, uh-oh, because sometimes I predict things a little too closely. Like, it's scary sometimes if, like, I'll see a trailer and I'm able to predict, like, certain plot points. It's weird. And with this episode, I basically saw the final scene in my dream, and I saw how bad it was in my dream. I won't get into any more details of any specifics until the spoiler section, but I basically almost like 80% pictured the ending of the show. I don't know how that happened. And I knew I was going to be angry, and I knew I was going to hate the episode, and wow. The dream warned me. The dream gods, they warned me about this episode. I hated this episode with a passion. You thought I hated episode 5. You thought I hated, like, episode 3, maybe. Like, episode whatever, if I didn't like any others. No. This episode takes the cake. This episode, it not only rushes through things in the same disappointing way that a lot of TV shows have been doing nowadays. It's sort of been something that I've come to expect. I watch a TV show, I get really invested into the story and the characters. I'm really excited to see what happens next. And then what do you know? It's all over. And it's only 10 episodes. And life moves on. You know, it's kind of disappointing that you get into these worlds nowadays, these fictional worlds, and then it just ends like that. That's the feeling I had in this episode. I felt stressed watching it. I felt like, you know, this is really going terribly. It's a terrible episode, terrible writing, and it was just this terrible feeling I had watching it. And I just felt like it was rushed to the max. I mean, they didn't add any extra minute or two. They just rushed through it like zoom, rushed through it. And not only that, but the plot did not make any sense whatsoever. In fact, this episode should have also been called Convenient City, because this episode was so full of conveniences that it was like sickening. I mean, just every single scene, there's a new convenience that just happens to happen to further the plot, to make it interesting, dramatic, suspenseful, whatever the fuck. And I'm just so frustrated right now. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of dislikes because people can't stand it when other people have a different opinion than them. That's just the sad thing about YouTube, is that when you're honest, it's a lot harder to get subscribers. It's a lot harder to become a good YouTuber with thousands of subscribers, because people don't like honesty. They like you to come on here and say, wow, that was really good. I loved everything about it, and it was perfect. I gave it a 10 out of 10, and that's it. You know, they want to be satisfied with pretending. Ignorance is bliss. And with this episode, you'd have to be really stupid to think this is good. And stupid in terms of pretending that it's good, to feel good about the ending. Because we have this courtroom stuff. There's tons of technical problems. Tons of them. It's just completely unbelievable. So many flaws that I could just see Legal Eagle saying, no, that would not happen. No, that would not happen. And the prosecutor, she's back to being terrible. Very unprofessional. Very, very just terrible. I like the actress who plays her. I think that she's very entertaining. But watching it from a realistic perspective that this show wants you to have, this show treats everything like, it's real. It's gritty realism. Well, it's not, because it's fake and it's wrong and it's flawed. If you have all these story flaws, you can't pretend this is realistic, because it's not. And I did like seeing more of Carlo talk, because he's hardly talked this whole season. He's been just this kind of background character. And you know what? I'll say one thing. I love the acting in this episode, especially from Bryan Cranston. He really brought it this episode. I would say that this is the best episode of his the whole season, which, is kind of... I mean, it's kind of easy because the script gives him so much easy acting moments to do. So I don't know if that'd be a good thing or a bad thing, but he did a really good job. He made me feel emotion that I wouldn't have felt if it was some other random shitty actor. He brought a lot of emotion, and there's so much stuff to talk about, because the thing is that as the episode goes on, you realize that you're not going to get the satisfying finale. You're going to get this emotionally manipulative, ridiculous, confusing, just rushed ending, because they don't answer questions, that's for sure. I mean, there's so many questions left unanswered, so many plots that they set up throughout the season that they just say, F that, F that, F that. It reminds me of Hell on Wheels, if you ever saw that show. In the last season of Hell on Wheels, I had a lot of faith in the writers. I was like, you guys have not answered these very important questions that have been hanging throughout the entire series. Like in Hell on Wheels in season 1, there's this bad guy who gets away, and basically they never reveal what happens to him at all. And he's integral to the story, to where he should have been the main villain of the series. But no, they just forget about him. And it's the same type of thing with this. There's so many characters that are just sort of written off, like Franny, Elizabeth. God, it's so frustrating. Just all these characters are basically shoved aside so that they can rush the ending with this trial that just, keeps going on and on. And, you can tell that they just want to get it over with, because the more they write the trial, the more unrealistic it seems. It's hard for them to not write these very convenient plots and have these convenient characters come in. And that's where we get to the main issue. Eugene. Oh, God. Eugene. His plot this whole season has been terrible. It's been pointless. It's been filler. It's been a stick in the mud, if you want to call it that. It's been like just this really bad part that's like continues to ruin the whole season. And in this episode, it comes to a climax when he's basically used as a plot device several times. I mean, first off, he comes in at the last minute expecting to be a witness. And he's with Lee, of course, and it's this whole thing with Lee and the detective, and they basically piece together that Michael, or his son, is the killer of Rocco. And both of them confront in some way they confront Michael about it. The detective gets to talk to Charlie, I thought Charlie was going to be evil and like really badass this episode, and he was going to shut everything down, but instead he just kind of talks and makes threats with his dialogue, and that was kind of weak. I mean, I was expecting a lot more from that, but I still really like Charlie. I love the actor playing him. He did a great job. He played it perfectly, even though it was written terribly. And then you have Lee, and she has this big confrontation with Michael, and it's probably one of the worst scenes of the episode, because they're basically expecting you to feel a lot of emotion because they have a relationship. And I'm sorry, but I've never believed their relationship very much. They don't really have much chemistry. That they don't really seem like they fit together. I really like Lee, actually. I think she did a great job. She did a really good job at acting. She had some good plots, but this episode was not good for her, because she basically is used again as a plot device to make everything more emotional. And then she leaves, and it's like boo-hoo, and she stands in front of the courtroom, the court outside, and they have this like emotional shot where they're like, oh look, it says the word justice. It says the word justice, and then she's standing there, and justice isn't actually being done. Oh no, boo-hoo. And then her last scene with Eugene is just hilariously terrible, because she basically... it's funny, she gives him the money from the baseball, and she's like, you take everything you can get. Like, God, she really does not care about him at all. Like, seriously, like, he doesn't have a guardian or anything. He's just running around the city all by himself, and she's just like, here, take the money, you take what you can get, you little shithead. Like, that's basically what she says. And then she runs off, and it's like... So no kind of payoff or ending with her. It's just kind of unfortunate, everything that happens this whole episode. And now let's get to the main plot with Michael and Carlo and everything. The jury finds Carlo not guilty, which is kind of surprising. I mean, even with all the suppression of justice and everything that Michael did, you'd still think that Carlo would be found guilty. There was a nice moment where Adam went outside and he had to use his inhaler, and again, plot convenience. Conveniently, Jimmy and Gina see this, and they're like, oh, Adam was the killer. And I thought that was good, actually, because of the acting. They did a really good job selling that scene, and then Adam is sitting in the courtroom, Jimmy's looking at Adam's looking at Fia and Michael, and it's just this like great scene where you're getting all this emotion out of just people's faces. And so I thought that was actually a really good moment out of this shitty episode. And then we get to the bad stuff. The really bad stuff. Sorry, I'm a little cold right now. I'm in my, quote, studio, and it's really cold in the studio. Adam goes to celebrate with Fia at a restaurant, and now this is where the spoilers are going to happen, so don't complain to me. I give this episode an F-. That's the lowest grade I can give anything, and to be honest, I give it a Z- as well, because this show rushed to an ending. They had a lot of plots and questions that they left unanswered, and that's disappointing. And they had a shitty shock ending, and they had all these plot conveniences, and they had no character arcs that were really good. There was a little tiny character arc, I guess you could say. Basically, Jimmy invites Michael to the restaurant where Adam is celebrating with Fia. And there's this really good moment to me where I felt some emotion, where Jimmy is standing there, and he's meeting Adam knowing that he's the killer, and we don't know what's going to happen, and then he just opens his arms to hug him. And I thought that was a very well acted scene, even from Adam. I mean, Adam was really not that bad this episode, although he's really ungrateful. After everything Michael's done, he's lied, he's done all this shit that's evil, and you know, he's destroyed his own relationships with like Lee and the detective, everything. I mean, the detective probably isn't even going to investigate his wife's death anymore because she doesn't care about Michael. And so, but then Jimmy hugs him, and I thought that was a really nice scene. And I liked Fia this episode as well. I liked everyone in terms of acting. And then Eugene does what he does. Because of the not guilty verdict, Eugene gets very upset, and he buys a gun with the money that Michael gave from the baseball. And, you know, plot convenience, plot convenience, plot convenience. And Eugene goes into the restaurant while Michael is trying to get him more plot conveniences. And Eugene tries to shoot Carlo, and he ends up shooting Adam. Not only just shooting Adam, conveniently he shoots Adam right in the artery in the neck that you have to sever completely to kill someone. So basically Adam just gets fucking brutally killed by this one shot that just happens to go into that artery. And so basically Eugene has been kept around with this terrible plot that doesn't make any sense the whole season so that he could kill Adam on accident. And yeah, wow. And then basically the ending is no one goes to help Adam except for Michael. Well, Fia does at first, but then she goes and comforts her dad, and they hug each other. And basically the last shot is Michael and Adam boo-hoo, crying. Ugh. What a terrible fuck you to the audience of an ending. I mean, after all this season, after everything that's happened, that's the ending we get. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I mean, I know you guys would have expected that I like Adam to get killed, but for him to get killed in this terribly convenient, stupid, emotionally manipulative ending, I do not like. And I think that it was terrible. It was very predictable as well. Like, as soon as Eugene got mad and he started, you know, running around and buying a gun and doing all that, I knew it was going to happen. I mean, it was pretty clear to me. I also liked that Michael had to run to the restaurant. You know, he could not get out because there was a car blocking his driveway, and so he had to run. And I thought that could have been a really good scene. But yeah, this was just extremely disappointing. I'm really disappointed, and I predicted it in my dream somehow. I was warned about this episode, and I'm sorry. I know that people are going to be disappointed. You know, I share your disappointment. I share your frustrations. And, you know, if you like this episode, that's fine too. It's just, I hated it, and nothing's going to make me change my mind. Unless there was like a season 2 or something, which is not going to happen because this is a limited series, unfortunately. It seems like every series nowadays is a limited series. Like, you know, basically everything that comes out nowadays is limited. It's like, you know, it begins and then it ends the next day. That's what I feel. I'm very disappointed, frustrated, all that crap. Yeah. This is going to be a huge stain on the season when I review the whole season. Season 1 review coming up soon. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe, all that crap. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon. I'm so sad that this season finale was abysmal. Goodbye, everybody.